Hi there, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you'll stick around with me today and paint these peonies in a teacup. Today I'm using my size 10 round by Zhu Ting, my SeimiArt and Sonnet watercolors. I'm also using a couple of colors from my MeiLiang watercolor palette. It's the coal black in a very, very light wash for the gray, and also a Hokker green blended with my olive green just for some of the fill leaves inside the teapot. I have my jar of water ready and a cloth for dabbing any mistakes or goofs. And today I'm painting on my 300 GSM watercolor paper by B Paper Company. Let's get started. I want to start by preparing some of my watercolors. I'm going to start with a madder lake. Just get a little bit of that ready, and then I just want to show you a little, I think we'll do a little peony teacup. So I'm just making these little strokes that just start out as these petals on the front of the flower. And then I don't want to start with that many, just maybe 2. And go back in with my rinsed brush and just touch some of that. Allow that pigment to just kind of bleed. I don't really want to change everything, but just touch that and maybe pull some of that in here to kind of soften this petal. And then go into this flower and do the same things. Just kind of adding another layer of softness here. It's okay to touch inside the petals. I love it. And then as you've done that, you will invariably have some pigment on your brush that you can then just kind of redistribute as another light tone of petal. Pretty simple. Okay, before I do any more, I do want to go in and kind of get a teacup going. And what I want to do here is use my, I just have a really light wash of my, well, I would ordinarily maybe use Payne's Gray, but I have some coal black on my palette. And so I'm just taking a really super duper light wash of that. And then what I want is, you know, a teacup that will look like a bowl compared with the size of the peonies. And I usually just like to have a little pedestal kind of look. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but okay. And then before this gets too dry here, I'd like to just kind of wash and brush across here to keep this over here from developing kind of a hard edge. And maybe today this is more of a saucer in my cup. I did not intend to touch this peony up here, but that's okay. I am going to dab that and then just kind of soak some of that so that my cup isn't entirely gray. And then maybe I'll go ahead and have a little peony kind of coming down here in front. But I'm going to let this cup dry, And then just go in with some more of my Madder Lake. And maybe I will actually do a couple of leaves. I'll go ahead and do this one right here. And see, I'm just doing these petals are kind of close to the viewer. And then just kind of feather some of these out. And then just come back with some a rinsed brush and just kind of pull some of that pigment. It's a bit wet, so this one may do best with a little more pigment placed into it as it's drying too. So I just want to go ahead and go in with some of my olive green, just because you know how much I love that. Okay, I have some of that prepped here. I want to have some really relaxed and loose leaves. So I'm just going to drag some of this pigment off, you can see. And then I'm just kind of using the tip of my brush to kind of swoop, and then let's just give this some, some kind of fanciful feel there. And then kind of overlapping so that, you know, you just kind of have some depth. A little more pigment. That leaf is going to be kind of dark, so let's just kind of dab that a little. Nice, yeah. And just some little bits here and there. Okay, I want to come back to this while it's still hopefully wet enough to just drop a little more pigment in. I like that it has that nice gradient. Actually, it's kind of satisfying, but this will give it some layers, I think. So just kind of drop some pigment in there. You can kind of brush a petal or two. And why don't we do some over here too? Just kind of giving a little bit more, just layer. And I don't want to overdo that, so I don't want to touch, you know, every petal that I've done. But just here and there. And I like that it has a different, just has kind of a higher level of vibrancy than this that's already been on here and has kind of bled or, you know, blended out. And the reason I wanted to go ahead and get some of these leaves in is because sometimes I crowd my flowers in and there aren't as many places, you know, naturally for leaves. And so I just like to sometimes mix that up. I'm taking a little more just water. This is just a bit of clean water on my brush and just touching here and there. And then what you can do is where you've touched, if that didn't quite start, you know, loosening up or bleeding into your water, you can kind of touch it again, because as the water sits there and interacts with the pigment, it will loosen that pigment. Well, I just love it so far. Okay, let's do this one down here, and I think we'll just do these petals like they're just hanging down kind of. Okay, we'll come back in a sec and just kind of swoop some of those, make them loosen up. And how about one out here? Maybe one up here, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm just kind of doing these inside petals, and then kind of some that that meet around, just kind of shaping around the flower. And what's kind of key for me is making that center where we have these thick petals kind of all the way around the center. The back side, the other side, doesn't have to have that, and it just kind of depends on, you know, the look you're going for. I kind of tend to do a mix of both. If you show more of that, you know, you're going to have a look that is maybe a more closed or a more open peony. Okay. Love that. And then just redepositing some of that pigment as I'm noticing that it is kind of on my brush, and just using it to make some more of these little whooshy petals. Gosh, I love this. So fun. I've not painted peonies in a while, and the last time I painted them, I was not happy with them. It was like almost entirely as if my brain had forgotten how to do them. And you know, sometimes you just either push through that or you just kind of let your brain have a rest, I think. And so clearly this time, just taking a little rest and doing some other things, sunflowers, for example, that did kind of help me. I think here what I'd like to do is put some water in here, and so I'm just going to kind of add some brush strokes here, because I don't want to decimate my leaves, but so I just made some brush strokes, and then I'm just dropping in some pigment, because I don't want that flower back there to be super defined. I just want a hint of that back there, and then just kind of feel like it needs to be just a tiny bit larger. But yeah, that's exactly what I want. So it's kind of behind that leaf and minding its own business back there. Okay. And how about one right here? So fun. Maybe drop a little more pigment into this, just here and there. I'm loving these. And sometimes, you know, that the pigment bleeding into my cup down here was a complete accident. And, you know, I just thought, well, it doesn't have to be wasted. Let's just put some, pigment down there. Let's put a flower down there. And, you know, who would know that that was an accident? So it's so easy to get discouraged by things that just don't entirely go our way, but we don't have to be. And sometimes we can go, you know, that's actually a great idea. Let's do that. What's the worst that can happen, right? It's It's just paper. It's just pigment. The state of the world is not depending on that. Peace in the Middle East. I love it. So fun. Gosh, I hope you're painting these, or that you do paint them, because they're just too fun. I want to get some more leaves in here. Probably get another peony right here, another over here. You know, I could maybe do 2 little ones, but I'm thinking maybe 1. We'll just make sure there's some nice leaves. Probably leaves here. I don't really have any green over here, so let's take care of that. This guy needs some leaves. Okay, we are going to give that a second to dry a little more, because that was just going to bleed my pigment, and well, that would have been okay, but let's not. Well, I did it again. But it's just a tiny little spot there. Sometimes I do feel like the queen of unintentional bleeding, and then repeating that oft throughout a painting. Listen, we are who we are, right? Just getting a little bit of detail here in this leaf. Not too much. Could probably go to a smaller brush too. Would not hurt things, but I you know, I kind of like to stay with my one brush unless I absolutely have to change. Why am I like this? I don't know. Okay, and I'm just kind of, you know, touching some of the edges too, to kind of add this, you know, just another layer or an overlap. Which I'm really liking. It's adding a lot of just interest, and yeah, it's working. Okay, now this guy is going to be fine, so love it. Love it. Okay, just kind of filling in some little places, trying not to too much mirror what's going on the other side. That's something that can be a challenge for me, so you just have to be aware of it. And I'm just going to go in with, I have a little bit of Hokker's green and olive kind of blended here. And I'm just going to go in with kind of a lightish wash of that, and just put some brush marks in here, kind of behind and between these flowers, just for some fill, I guess, and some background interest. Cute. I hope I'm not doing too many of those, but they're just fun. Okay, love it. Want to get some more of these peonies in there, just maybe 2 more. And I don't feel like this needs to be overly rounded, and in fact I don't want it that way. I kind of want to keep a triangular shape there somewhat with the arrangement. So I'd like to just kind of have this one peeking up here, not too much out there. Now I may go ahead and do this one first so that I can hopefully see it a little bit more. Oh, I love that one. So remember what I said earlier about, you know, when you've been able to do something and then suddenly it just seems like you can't, and give yourself the time to maybe do some other things and come back, and if it still won't cooperate, you know, you can practice it. You can come back later. Just feel like this was such a good lesson for me. I honestly was reluctant to paint these. I had this kind of in my mind to paint this. I don't think I've done peonies in a little teacup. I may have, but you know, memory. They say it's the second thing to go. None of us can remember the first, right? But so whether I have or not, I did think this would be a lovely idea. And then I was just kind of intimidated. What if I can't do them anymore? Well, I guess there are worse things in the world than that too. So it would be a bit sad for me. I do quite enjoy painting them. Okay, love these. And thanks for hanging in there, because I know at first I was not explaining that super well. We have a little bit of granulation here, and I may go over that in a minute. I don't mind it, but it's not very cohesive with the rest of the flowers. And then I think what I'll do is maybe have another one here and leave a little bit this open area. Just kind of have it here. I like it. Very sweet. And it is kind of rounded, but it's okay. It's not too, I think it's not too. And it doesn't matter. It's happy. Okay, just a little here to kind of help that granulation. And then let's go ahead and take some water over here. Just like to soften that up just a little. I love it. And then I'll probably go back into that one and add a little bit more pigment just to have some a little more variety in the tones, a little more depth. I'm going to do the same thing here because I feel like this ended up, you know, I was working with it pretty wet, and I think what happened is I just lost some of the layers to that, just working kind of wet and not giving things an opportunity to dry kind of so much. This I'm just going to drop some pigment into. When I drop this pigment in, sometimes I use kind of a brush stroke that's, you know, kind of like a petal, and sometimes I don't. So okay, and that'll need a little softening. And I'd like to add a little more up here. I'm just in love with this. What a completely sweet little painting. And just in time for Mother's Day. Would be so sweet. You could draw a little border around it. You could frame it. You could use gold pigment to do that. Could add a little sentiment. If you're great with a pen, or stamps are a great way to do that. Just going to add a little shadow. Nice. I think that works. Maybe a few more little leaves. I don't want to overdo these leaves at the top. I don't want to just completely fill everything. So cross your fingers or something for me right now. Bit more olive in that. I love it. Cute. And then just some more marks inside of here. Just to kind of fill that out. Some of them could be stems. Little pieces of, yeah, stems, leaves. Okay, I love it so much. Okay, I think the only other thing I'd really like to do is to add a little shading on this cup. I don't want to be heavy-handed about this. I just want to be sure that we know that there's some shadow there. I'm going to go back and touch that with a little bit of water, hopefully kind of blend that. And just go ahead and blend into it even. I'm not so worried about these being so blended up here. I feel like they're already a little less noticeable. Little shading up under this handle. And how about a little bit on this saucer? And then just kind of blend that. A little bit of blending up here, and then a little here and here. All Kind of soften this here. I'm actually going to dab that just a touch. Go all the way across the bottoms of these. I like it. I think that's just fine. I don't want to, you know, overwork it. I'd love to see what you do. So please feel free to reach out. A great way to get me and show me your work is on Instagram. That's a great way to message me, DM me with your art. One thing I do want to do is add a little yellow into these centers. And I thought I was done, and then I remembered, oh yeah, these have centers. And I'm just going to add a few little, tiny little brush strokes there. But really, what a sweet little card. So simple, and I think any mom, any loved one would love to get this painted by you. I love it. I love this yellow deep inside of this madder red. So it's a very good color combination. And there you go. I hope that you have had a good time here today. I probably would finish this up with just a few more details, maybe on the leaves, just here and there. Maybe these and these. Maybe a little bit of balance with, you know, whatever up there. Gosh, maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. I mean, you don't have to stay tuned if you have some place to be. But if you'd like to watch me do this, then you're very welcome to stay. All those moments, I think I'm done, and then my brain says, but what about that? Okay, you're right, brain. Good job, brain. Okay, maybe a few little veins on some of these. I think that's great. I think that's it. And I would just call that pretty much finished, and then send that to my loved one. So I hope you've enjoyed this today. I sure enjoyed painting this with you and for you. I hope that you've been inspired in some way to explore, to renew maybe some of your art. Maybe there's something that became challenging to you and you kind of put it aside for a while. I hope you get that out and try it again, because maybe now things will click in a new way for you, just like the peonies did for me this evening. So as always, happy painting.